The rewriting of American history continues with a right-wing felon soon to be released, Hillary's America. Here's a bit of the trailer.
Who are these Democrats?
It is my judgment.
Dinesh D'Souza was sentenced on Tuesday to spend 8 months in a confinement center.
It all began when the Obama administration tried to shut me up.
You know, gang's all about stealing, man.
What did I learn? All crime is about stealing. The big criminals are still at large.
Didn't see any reason to keep them.
The system doesn't go after them because they run the system. It's time to go behind the curtain and discover the soul of the Democratic Party.
50 lashes. Does that feel? Come on. The Democrats support slaves.
This Civil Rights Act will allow colored men to sit at the same table beside the white guests.
Tammany Hall Democrats who are now furnishing arms to the Ku Klux Klan.
To the Democratic Party.
Why has all this been swept under the rug?
To cover the tracks of the Democratic Party.
And we're not even talking about ancient history.
The racism continued well into the 20th century.
That as long as the black man continue to ravish our white women, we will continue to lynch him.
What are these Democrats hiding?
This is about buying and selling influence by foreign oligarchs and foreign governments. When you follow the money, there are very, very few coincidences.
What if the goal of the Democratic Party is to steal the most valuable thing the world has ever produced? What if their plan is to steal America?
That was awesome. I almost want to watch.
I was wondering if they would ever make a sequel to Idiocracy. It's finally they got around to it.
That was all over the place. Like, at first I'm like, oh, this is like a vanity project. He's trying to like change the narrative of what happened to him and why he was thrown in prison for 8 months. And then I'm like, oh, he wants to make it seem like Democrats are racist and only in favor of white people. And then he goes into like this weird thing about Hillary, like, being like the emperor of the United States. Like, where is this movie going? I have no idea.
Well, I do, because this is what Dinesh does. This is, we're not allowed to call them Uncle Toms, I guess. We're, so, useful minority tools, UMTs. Okay, I just made that.
I like that.
So, it's people who get paid by Republicans to smear Democrats, but it's really helpful if they're a minority. So Hannity will have his all-black panel that'll say, oh, it's all black culture's fault. Everything that goes wrong in Chicago, the inner city's all, where are the fathers? Where are the fathers? It's all black culture's fault.
Look, Andre Tontaros releases a book saying that feminism has bound women. They're basically in bondage now because of feminism.
Totally, yeah.
And Dinesh D'Souza is supposed to come out and attack Democrats for being vicious towards minorities. Right? Yeah. They can't have a. But no. Like, there was literally a memo written by one of the Republican donors. We covered this in the 2012 election, saying we need a minority face to do these attacks against Obama. So they're like, they apparently even run out of black people. So they're like, Dinesh D'Souza, South Asian, good enough. They won't be able to tell the difference. Okay, so that's, I mean, have you seen a less telegenic person in the world? I mean, sorry, Dinesh, it's not like I'm a good-looking guy, but
well, he's been hardened by his time in prison. Now he's a tough guy.
Yeah, I mean, we saw like real footage of him sitting there with an inmate watching Hillary Clinton give a speech. Like, that's what they do in prison.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And then he did a bunch of research, and he had a board with whitewater and a bunch of Post-it notes.
So there was that, come to my camera for a second, there was that, my favorite part was at the end when he has that look like, okay, so, and then I love the inmates that they did in those recreations of his time in prison. He probably went to one of those, like, you know, white-collar prisons where they play tennis all day. Meanwhile, everybody in there is, like, buff and, like, largely minority, some white guys. There's a guy going like this and talking to him like this while Hillary Clinton's on the TV. Yeah. This is their view of the world.
I know, it's incredible. Okay, but I want to talk about a little bit of substance, even though it's kind of hard to do so with a trailer like that. Like, okay, this whole notion that Democrats, like, yeah, we're the same Democrats from the days of slavery, and we want slavery now. And yeah, it was the Democrats that, like, lost their shit after Beyonce did her Formation performance at the Super Bowl, right? It was Democrats. It's Democrats that respond to Black Lives Matter with All Lives Matter to belittle what the black community is doing or going through in this country, right? It was the Democrats that respond to unarmed black kids being shot and killed with, oh, he was probably a thug. It's the Democrats, right? It's the liberals in this country that do that. Well, get out of here with that. Like, that makes me so angry to try to paint this picture of the Democratic Party as the racist, when in reality, it's Republicans that like to frame minorities as moochers and everything that's wrong with society.
It was a Democratic governor who said there are a bunch of black drug dealers coming in to sleep with our white girls. Oh, sorry, that was Paul LePage, the Republican governor.
He literally said that, by the way.
Oh, and then he clarified later that he meant.
He said drug dealers, and they said, you mean black drug dealers? And he said, no. And then later, a couple of weeks later, I think on a radio show, he's like, yeah, no, I meant black drug dealers sleeping with our poor white girls. They shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and you tie that in, you try to set the historical precedent for it by doing the same exact thing that guy, remember there was a guy the last week who said the KKK was a leftist organization advancing progressive principles, which was so ridiculous that he was run out of media permanently. He had to run to hide on CNN doing election night coverage for them after saying that the KKK was a leftist organization. As if they don't know what a political realignment is. As if they don't know that it was conservatives that made up the Democratic Party in the South at that time. As if they don't know that the civil rights movement that he portrays so heavily in that video was specifically the thing that led to the last conservative whites in the South going over to the Republican Party. As if he doesn't know all of this stuff.
So let me give one more fact here, and then I want to ask you guys, even if you're a Republican, how you can stomach that party. Okay, so Ken Mehlman was the head of the Republican National Committee. He was their chairman. And he came out in 2005, and he literally apologized for the Southern strategy. If you don't know what the Southern strategy is, so when Republicans decided, hey, you know what? The Democrats are the more conservative party in the South. We'd like to get their votes. And the best way to do that is by appealing to racial division, right? So we'd like to polarize the racists more in the South and get the racists to vote for us, okay? That was their Southern strategy, and it worked great. They did. They got all the racists in the South to switch from Democrat to Republican. So when Republicans were the party of Lincoln, Lincoln was the liberal candidate, okay? Now then the party switched because of the Southern strategy. Now, if you don't want to take my word for it, that's why I brought up Ken Mehlman. He was the head of the Republican Party, and this is what he said. In 2005, some Republicans gave up on winning the African-American vote, looking the other way or trying to benefit politically from racial polarization. I am here today as the Republican chairman to tell you we were wrong. And he went on to say, it's not healthy for the country for our political parties to be so racially polarized. Just as Democrats came to this black community in 1964 with something real to offer, today, we Republicans have something that should cause you to take another look at the party of Lincoln. So there he is, acknowledging in 2005, as he's talking to the NAACP, yeah, we screwed you. We went for racial polarization. We appealed to those guys and went in an ugly direction. Democrats have something real to offer. That's the head of the Republicans saying it. Now we'd like to make amends, and then they decided, nah, never mind. Yeah. And they didn't go in that direction. But there is a clear admission what everyone in politics knows, which is that the Republican Party is now the conservative party and the same conservatives who are for segregation and slavery and all those things. See, liberals by definition want change. Conservatives almost by definition want the establishment, tradition, authority to remain the same. We had slavery. That's why part of the reason why they wanted to keep slavery, and progressives wanted to progress and get equal rights for blacks, Latinos, women, gays, etc. Yeah. I mean, if you can't understand that, then you don't understand anything about politics. And then finally, that's why I'm asking you guys, even if you're a Republican out there, given that that movie, the entire premise of that movie, is a gigantic lie. Even if you're a Republican, you believe in lower taxes and more bombing in the Middle East, whatever you believe in, you know that they're lying, right? In that movie, the whole point is propaganda. We're going to scare you about Hillary Clinton. We're going to lie to you about the true history of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and we're going to try to trick you because we think you're stupid, and we'd like to, have you as a useful idiot and a sucker. Doesn't that offend you? Doesn't that bother you? Just because you want lower taxes doesn't mean you have to be a liar, right? It doesn't mean that you have to do these kind of tricks, but they think that's what works for us because we don't have a great platform, so we got to lie to people to try to get them on our side.
Yeah, he needs to lie to people to get them to watch the movie. I mean, you saw the trailer. Did that have anything to do with Hillary Clinton? No, it's just attacking the Democrats. And by the way, it doesn't come out until July. There's some chance, even if it's a small chance, she won't even be the nominee at that point. That would be hilarious for his ticket sales.
Yeah,
which I anticipate will be low anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no, but they don't expect a lot of people to watch this. And you think Dinesh D'Souza made this on his own and hoping for good ticket sales? No, a Republican donor funds movies like this. They did one on Obama, and they're now doing one on Hillary Clinton. That's all Dinesh D'Souza has left in his pathetic, sad little career. Well, no. So he came out as a so-called intellectual, but he's been so discredited, so embarrassed. And then, he violated campaign finance laws and had to spend 8 months in jail. He's a felon. He's a known crook and a liar.
That's why we need people to go see this movie. You gotta buy the tickets to give him some money that he can then illegally give to someone in this election. He can go back to jail. He's too broke to be a criminal right now. Yeah. Every crime is about stealing.
Yes.
Sometimes it's about giving. Look at your record.
That's exactly right.